You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing, you are doing very well. The guest you're about to hear from is a lass called Caitlin Henry, and she is the frontwoman for a band based in Sydney, via Newcastle or the Hunter region. Or is it they're from the Hunter region and now they're based in Sydney? That's it. Anyway, the band's called Eat Your Heart Out. We have a discussion about the new EP, or is it an LP? Either way, it's a new release, it's in market for the band. We talk about that and a few other things. Let's cut to the chat with Caitlin. Here we go. All right, so Caitlin, I'm going to welcome you to the show. It has just been announced that Eat Your Heart Out are supporting Simple Plan at Helensvale and indeed across all of the Australian and New Zealand dates the band is performing. So is this something of a milestone for the band to achieve a rather coveted support slot?
Yeah, absolutely. So this supports our first international tour support in Australia or anywhere. So to have one that's sort of such a big deal and like such big venues and such a well-known band for our first international tour support is really crazy and such a big milestone for us. So yeah, it's great.
Cool. Now, I got the EP from Rachel before Christmas. Now, it's not typically the type of rock and roll that I get into. However, I found plenty to like across the cuts on the EP. So that's a compliment, by the way. Don't think it's anything else.
Thank you.
You know, is there a theme or a concept associated with the cuts on the EP?
Yeah, so I mean, sort of the general theme that runs through the whole EP is just this idea of sort of struggling like with your own demons and looking into your own head and sort of trying to work out what's going on in there, and just sort of this journey of self-discovery. It's sort of this message that's been present in our music before, like the previous EPs, but this EP, it was sort of the sole focus. Like it's just the message that runs through all the songs and even the artwork and everything like that. So it's, yeah, definitely about like a journey of self-discovery and, yeah, sort of dealing with what's going on in your own head. Yep.
So do those themes and concepts, do they tie into the videos that you've done? So I have watched the videos that you've posted. Whether you guys did it or the label did it, posted to YouTube. Okay, so I like the videos because they're a high quality representation of what the band's trying to do. But is there any link there between the theme across the cuts on the EP and also the visual narrative that you're presenting through video?
I mean, with this EP, the video that we've put out for Conscience, it kind of had its own narrative, which the filmmaker that made that, he came up with that narrative based off like the track and the lyrics and stuff like that. So it's not sort of directly related to that overall theme, but at the same time, with this song obviously being a part of the EP and having that sort of running through it, it does sort of connect. But like the video for Conscience is more about, the video is sort of an exaggerated version of what the song is about to us. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Now the artwork, I like the album artwork. What does the black void in the girl's head symbolise?
So it's again sort of with that message of like, you know, sort of falling deep into your own head, and it is a void. Like you're not sure what you're going to find. You don't know if you're going to like what's in there. Don't know if you're going to be able to get back out once you're in. Like it's just sort of representing the unknown when you sort of go on that journey of self-discovery. You don't know, what's going to happen, what's in your own head, you know.
I think it'd look good on T-shirts as well, actually. Is that something you have plans for? Yeah,
well, with our EP release, we did have some bundles through Fearless, which do have the album artwork on there. So I bought one myself. It does look pretty cool.
Okay, sweet. All right, so note to the listener there, are they available via the Facebook page, those bundles?
I'm pretty sure we have a link through our Facebook. Yeah, it's available on our US Merch Now store. Yep.
Okay. Rightio. Newcastle. I understand the band hails from there, or the band's members hail from Newcastle, and the cliches are obvious. There's your football team, the Knights. Of course, there's Silverchair, and a history associated with mining. But, in your own words, how much of Newcastle has identifiably influenced the band's sound and the lyrics?
Well, I mean, originally 4 of us are from Muswellbrook, which is further inland than Newcastle. So we only moved to Newcastle sort of in the last 5 years or so. But I think definitely, like when we're sort of cutting our teeth in Newcastle and playing shows there, the Newcastle scene currently is was currently very like hardcore based and
heavy metal stuff, punk and that sort of thing.
Heavy metal stuff, exactly, yeah. So we were playing with all those sorts of bands, so we definitely took influence from that just so we could sort of, fit in with those shows, and it was where the scene looked like it was headed. So that's, our music definitely took influence from that because it was the kind of bands that we would play with, and the only opportunities we would have were with those heavier bands like hardcore, heavy metal sort of stuff. So yeah, for sure. But I mean, Silverchair is one of those bands that all of us have listened to sort of, since we were kids, just because they were so big in Australia. So that's definitely, that grungy sort of aspect as well has always been something that's present in our music. So yeah,
it's interesting listening to Daniel John's recent output. To be honest with you, I'm not a fan of it at all. I think he's lost his muse actually, and he's probably been hanging around Sydney too much. He's done this dark, this I wouldn't even call it dirty electro. If it was dirty electro, I don't mind that. I love a lot of bands like Cassius and Justice, Midnight Juggernauts. But the stuff that he's producing now, it sounds like bad Justin Timberlake, to be honest.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't even listened to it. I haven't heard it, but yeah, I guess even like some of Silverchair's later albums, I think almost lost that grungy aspect as well. I'm not super familiar with their later albums, but yeah, I think a lot of people sort of saw that coming. And yeah, I don't know, I guess grunge isn't as big as it was anyway, so even if he made a grungy album, maybe it wouldn't have been as well received. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, look, my take on things that he doesn't realise the gold mine that he's sitting on both commercially and creatively. He's a rock frontman. There's no two ways about it. He is a goddamn rock star and superstar.
That's true. He is a rock star, yeah.
And if he just doesn't realise it, and he's hanging around with... I mean, I can only go by, as we all can. I don't know him, never met him. I can only go by the pictures that I've seen in the media with him falling asleep at his doorstep there in Surrey Hills.
Yeah.
And, for somebody like me, I'm a working musician, okay? I play in covers bands. I'm a bass guitarist, aspirational guitarist and singer. I do a little bit here and there. But, look, I look at the talent that he's got, and I just feel as though he's not using it in a way that he should be. I mean, he could be touring the States, playing those first two albums front to back, and then be releasing new music at the same time. He'd be bringing the thing that I think a lot of musicians don't understand, and you definitely fall into this category, but I do feel as though you're mining your muse the way that you should. As I say, I've watched the videos, I've listened to your music quite a bit since I've got the EP there from Rachel. You're doing what you're meant to be doing. Daniel's just not figured that part of it out.
Yeah, I guess at the same time though, him and Silverchair started so young and did sort of do it for so long, that grungy stuff from such a young age, that maybe he just got to a point where he's kind of like, well, I've done this since I was a kid. Now I just kind of want to do something crazy and branch out and break the mold, maybe.
I think you're right.
Said, I mean, we don't know him, but yeah, that's what I would guess. He's just kind of like, I want to do my own thing, something different.
Look, it dovetails nicely into my next point, which is also a question, which is about Australian bands. So, like any bands that exist outside the commercially fertile bonanza that is Europe and North America, we have a far longer road to travel. So what do you think it's going to take to bring your music to a broader audience, particularly in those markets I just mentioned?
I think the internet obviously is a great tool for expanding into that worldwide market. So I think online promotion definitely can't be overlooked because that is a great tool. I think as well, because we are signed to a US label worldwide, we do definitely have a good chance of heading over to the US. We'll probably be heading to the US sometime this year for touring, and potentially recording our next release.
Yeah, excellent. Great.
So we've definitely got a bit of a foot in the door with the US, being on a US label. Europe's kind of a whole nother beast. I don't know, I don't know what kind of scope we have there or anything like that. But I know the US is definitely on our, one of our sort of short to mid-term goals for this year is definitely expanding into the US.
Mm-hmm. Do you get a lot of feedback from listeners in North America?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of our fan base is in North America, just because, as I said, our label is there. A lot of our promotion goes to there. So yeah, definitely Australia and North America are where our two main fan bases are growing currently. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be great this year if we do get the opportunity to go over there and tour and sort of see, what's happening over there and how we can expand it for sure.
Now, I have no doubt you've heard this next comparison before because I've read a lot of the comments under the videos that are on YouTube, but a lot of people in North America and Europe compare to Paramore. And
Yep.
I think it's fairly accurate from the perspective that that's the type of vibe that I think North American listeners are getting from the music that you're putting out there. In particular, obviously the cliche again, female-fronted rock music. I mean that as a compliment as well when I say cliche. It's just, is it Hayley? Is that the lead singer of Paramore? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hayley. I had a chat to Aaron, who's in Under Oath, the drummer, but he's also Paramore's drummer. So he's not in Paramore, but he plays drums for them. And I asked him, what was going on with the band and the like. And look, they're obviously they're active, they're doing their thing. But look, I mean, any marketing person out there that could sort of give you guys an opportunity on that basis, I think you'd do bloody well with that. We're very laid back here in Australia. You learn that. I've interviewed well over 200 musicians and artists from overseas. We're very laid back here. We don't often give feedback. We go, well, if you're digging it, that's great. But North American and European fans are like, yeah, I think it's like this, or no, I don't like it. So if that's what the comments are saying, honestly, I just hope the people around you are pushing you in that direction, only because it's such a wonderful opportunity you've got to be successful because you've certainly got the talent.
Thank you. But yeah, I think, some people, like, the comparisons have died off a little from when we first started, but at some point they do start to get a little bit old, but some people as well, I think, get a little bit, too offended with the comparison. I can definitely see how people, could compare our music to, like, old Paramore, definitely not their new stuff, sort of, it's like 80s retro, but definitely their older albums, just the, alternative rock with female vocals, like, it's understandable for sure, and I think, you're right. It's definitely something that could be, expanded upon because obviously Paramore were massive, so they were doing something right. So if people, really enjoyed that and then could enjoy our music sort of off that as well, then,
Look, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm fairly connected to the scene in terms of I'm aware of what bands are coming through, but I just don't think another band has come along like you guys that could, and when I say follow in their footsteps, you know what I mean. It's not about, it's just about, okay, that's the style of music that Paramore are doing. You guys are doing your thing. It's musically, I agree, it's very different. And the comparisons must get very old, but you can only go by what people are commenting on YouTube and the like. I mean, I do that with my podcast series and the like, and I started interviewing people from the world of paranormal because I started to look at the interests and the like that people had that were listening to my podcast series. So I thought, okay, you want to listen to people from the world of the paranormal, I'll start interviewing those people, and of course, the hits that I got from those episodes spiked big time. So, you got to be realistic, and I think anybody listening out there that thinks that bands have got to be indie and just do things for the creativity alone, that's bullshit, excuse my language. You've got to do things to expand your audience, to bring people in and get people engaged. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, we don't want to make music that isn't accessible, like we want music that a wide scope of people can enjoy. And I think that is something that obviously a band like Paramore did incredibly well. Like, they absolutely transcended their genre that they started out in. They just became this sort of, like, not even mainstream isn't even the right word, but they crossed so many genres and in that made so many fans worldwide. So I think definitely that's a goal that most bands should have, if they want to have sort of success like that, is transcending that genre and breaking out and just
becoming a brand or a label unto yourself,
Exactly. Not being pigeonholed into a band of this genre, just being like, this is this band.
Okay, I've read that music is all that you have ever seen yourself doing as far as career aspirations. So it might be too hard to answer, but what do you think the next 5 years would look like for yourself and indeed the members of the band?
Do you mean with the band, what we see?
Yeah, what are the? I mean, I know it's very hard to sort of forecast what the next 5 years are going to look like. But do you have even a plan for what that might look like over the next 5 years? So, say if you've got an obligation to release 3 albums or EPs in the next few years.
Yeah. So because we do have a record deal, so we do have an obligation to release a couple of records through Fearless. So definitely, like, the next 5 years will probably be preoccupied with getting out like a couple of records, touring hopefully as far as we can around the world, and just sort of seeing how it goes. As you said, it's impossible to know really how something will go. But yeah, definitely the goal for the next 5 years would just be to get out a couple of albums, because obviously this year will probably be recording like our debut album. I don't know if it will be out this year, but that's definitely something on the list, is recording it this year. So yeah, so we'll probably have that this year, and then I guess it just depends on what kind of touring opportunities come up, and then where we go from there in the next 5 years. But I mean, a personal goal for all of us, I guess, is hopefully in the next 5 years to make this our career, like our source of income, so we don't have to work other jobs. That's definitely one of our main goals for 5 years. Yeah.
So what do you do? What do you do away from music? What's the breadwinner at the moment, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh yeah, I work in retail, so pretty standard. I think for musicians, retail's, it's easy to get leave when you need it. You know, it's not that hard, and it's you can leave and come back, and not that much has changed. So all of us work in retail, except one of us. So yeah, I think that's definitely one of the easier sort of side jobs for musicians trying to make it.
What's the greatest challenge that you personally have faced as a musician and an artist to date?
For me, I think personally, like, songwriting is something I've struggled with, because Will, our guitarist, is sort of the main songwriter of the band. So like with our initial songs, he would just pretty much write the whole thing and present it to the rest of us. But as we've grown, like each release, it's sort of become more and more collaborative. So with this last EP, the lyrics were sort of split between me and him with them being written. But I think definitely like just having confidence in myself as a songwriter and not being afraid to like present my ideas and stuff is definitely one of my biggest challenges. It's just hard to believe in yourself sometimes and not be like,
I understand totally
what you've created. And yeah.
So look, I'm going to lighten the mood a little bit now. Okay.
Yes.
What's the funniest thing that has happened to you since you've been in the band? So it can be a funny incident that's happened on stage or on tour, in any situation that you've been in interaction with the band. I've had some classic responses to this over the years, actually.
Oh, this is a tough one, because I feel like we're always laughing and like something funny is always happening, but then I can never think back on exactly why. I mean, nothing that funny has ever really happened on stage. We've had some ridiculous times on tour, like usually it'll be because someone, like one of the guys, has gotten too drunk or something on a night out and then just been absolutely ridiculous. But I'm trying to think of anything sort of specific. Sorry, I'm always terrible at answering this question.
You're right.
I mean, I've been, like, although it is kind of annoying, I've been asked out on dates before by people, which I've turned down, but we always find that pretty hilarious just because it's...
Oh, is that right? Fans
ridiculous.
Ask you out on dates?
Like at the merch table, and after we've played, I've been asked out like a couple of times, and we just laugh about it, because it's just... I mean, half of the time, I don't even think they know my name. They've just watched us play, and they're just like, oh, wow, a woman on stage. But,
it reminds me of that scene in, that scene in Dumb and Dumber where Jim Carrey asks Lauren Holly... Is it Jim Carrey? I think it's Jim Carrey asks Lauren Holly, or the other guy that's in Dumb and Dumber. I can't remember his name, sorry. But he says, what are the chances of us basically forming a relationship, or words to the effect? And she says, 1 in a million. And he goes, so you're telling me there's a chance? That's what these guys are like. They're just lobbing a grenade, hoping, oh, well, you never know your luck. It's like, guys, have some taste. Come on.
But I think one of our classic, like, funniest tour memories is just this one time we'd been out, like, around Melbourne. I think we were out in St Kilda just hanging out, and our bassist Don got, like, quite drunk. And when we got home, someone had picked up this hat on the street. I don't know, like, they just found it, and it was like an Obama president hat. It had, like, an American eagle and, like, all this American stuff on it. It was so classic and, like, patriotic. And Dom fell asleep, like, with the hat and his glasses on. And so we were trying to take his glasses off, and he just he was like asleep, but he just went into like full dad mode and was yelling at us all to go to bed and stop making noise. But we were just trying to take his hat and glasses off and help him out. And I don't think he has any memory of that, but for the rest of us, it's like one of the funniest things ever happened. But yeah, as per usual, it's one of those things where you kind of like, you had to be there, but...
No, I understand these things. Let me just share this story with you quickly, and of course the listener. I'm playing in covers bands, as I mentioned. We're playing in Bundaberg. It's about 300 or so k's north of Brisbane. And 5-piece band. We've got a guitarist who comes from central Queensland, keeps to himself, a typical country lad, in other words, is what I'm saying. You know, a bit like Wayne Bennett, the rugby league coach, just doesn't say too much, just sort of gets on with the job. Anyway, we decided to go out. We went up for a New Year's Eve gig. We went up the day before, I should say, and the night of the day before, we decided to go out for some dinner together. Did that. We decided to get some beverages for we had it staying at an Airbnb, so we thought, let's have a few drinks, just a few quiet ones. You can tell where this is going already, right? Just a few quiet ones. And of course, this bloke, I won't mention his name, picks up some wine, just a bottle of red. I thought, okay, that's unusual. I've never seen him drink before, or just have a light beer. So we get back to the Airbnb. He proceeds to polish off the bottle of red wine. I had a few beers. So he left over, like just in the 6-pack that I bought, he had about 2 of them. And then he proceeded to mix the dregs of all of the drinks that were left over into one cup and drink it on the table. Oh. Now, I was like, what the hell is going on here? You know, I'm 39 years of age. I'm pretty sure I know my limits these days. I literally can't drink enough to get a hangover, because the hangovers when you're my age kill you. So he's about my age as well, if not older. He did that, but in between, he was yelling, he was ranting, he was walking around in circles. There was a sprinkler system that was on site that he was walking into and walking out of it. So this is a dude who's in his early 40s or thereabouts doing this stuff, and I thought it was hilarious, because I think that sort of stuff is generally quite funny as long as somebody's not hurting themselves or other people. The drummer, who's in his early 60s, had gone to bed at about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So by this stage, by the time he's walking in and out of the sprinklers and yelling and stuff, it's about 1 o'clock, at 1 o'clock in the AM, of course. And the drummer got up and yelled at him to calm down. And the guitarist wasn't processing any of it at all. We thought, okay, that's enough. Let's all go to bed. Went to bed. I woke up in the morning. Not really any of the wise that any more shenanigans had occurred. The drummer said, "Man, what happened afterwards?" And I said, "What do you mean? I went to bed, man. I got no idea what happened." He goes, "Well, I walked into the bathroom. He pissed all over the bathroom because he'd left the toilet lid down. It went everywhere. It was one of those, excuse me for being vulgar, one of those alcohol pisses. And you know, those things go on for forever. So in this Airbnb, I won't say where it was in case the listener, the person who owns it is listening. The drummer did end up cleaning up most of it, but he had to have a shower at 4:30 in the AM because he'd stepped in all of this stuff. So there you go. That's my story. Occasionally these things do.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that's terrible.
But I guess that's the thing about getting drunk when you're in bands. It's like, know your limits, because you've got to perform and you've got to be around people, and you're not family, so the tolerance level just isn't there like it typically is in and amongst families, is it? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with all of us, like we've been friends for so long that it's like we pretty much tolerate anything. But that's pretty next level. That's pretty gross.
Yeah, I suppose for part of it you had to be there. You know, these sort of things you typically have to be. Yeah. But it was just seeing him go from this Wayne Bennett type of guy who doesn't say too much, who's fairly, very introspective actually, to him becoming this wine demon after drinking a bottle of red wine, a few beers, and then just having him drink the dregs. And of course I gagged because I can't handle that sort of stuff. I almost throw up. I've seen mates drink ashtrays mixed in with dregs of beers and stuff, and I can't.
Yuck.
Oh, it's disgusting. It's vulgar. I don't know what they get out of it, except for the fact that they're drunk and they're trying to put on a show.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. Yeah.
Rightio. Okay, last question, and it's a humdinger. I haven't asked this series of questions in a while, actually, so it's one question divided into 3 parts. Here we go.
Okay.
Choose 3 words to describe yourself.
Ooh, I'm going to say purple, just because I feel like I'm always
That's your aura, maybe.
Purple. Yeah, that's my aura, purple aura. I I'd say, just strange. Just strange. Probably just say weird things all the time and people don't know why. And maybe just, we'll just say quiet. Just quiet. Not the loudest person.
Okay, that works. Next question is, if you could invite any 5 guests from any time in history to a dinner party, who would you invite?
5. That's hard. I'm going to say, I'll probably say Elvis Presley, just because I feel like it would be nice to meet Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Stevie Nicks.
Nice.
Just because it would be nice to pick her brain just about, her life.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? It's a tough one. Did you say anybody or just musical people?
Anybody. Can be presidents, can be world leaders, anybody.
Okay. Probably... I'd probably say a bit of a, sadder one, maybe my granddad, just because he died when I was quite young, but I think we had a lot in common, so I'd like to speak to him again as an adult. It's so tough. 5, I need 2 more. Sorry, I'm having such a mind blank now.
It does. People either get it very quickly or it stumps them. It's
yeah,
never in between with this one.
The first 3 I've said are ones that I do think about sometimes, but then, maybe just, because we were talking about it before, maybe someone like Hayley Williams, someone in a band like that now, just to talk about their experiences, what they've been through. And one more. We'll just say, I can't think of... Maybe just because I've seen her in the media, Dolores from the Cranberries, just because she's obviously had an interesting life as well, just because I've seen her in the media recently. So I think that would be very interesting as well.
Yeah, she's, what do we say? Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, Scott Weiland, all of these musicians and artists that are leaving us, in my view, well before their time. She's joined that very unfortunate list.
Yeah, yep.
So I remember when Zombie came out back in the day, actually, that massive track that they had. I've actually played it a few times in covers bands as well, and it always goes down very well. But, it's very unfortunate. But, I've only got that one album. Everybody else is doing it, so why can't we? It was released back in 94. I don't know much else about the music, and I think a lot of people are in that basket, but it's always sad to hear whenever somebody passes away, particularly because she had kids as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But sorry, I won't put a downer on things. That's a very interesting list, and I'll tell you what, I think you'll have to keep Stevie and Elvis away from any substances. That's the only thing you have to be aware of there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the final question is, what would you say to your 18-year-old self if you could have a conversation?
18 for me was only 3 years ago. So I'm kind of in the same boat as I was now, but I'd probably say just keep grinding, keep trying as hard as you can, work on your, live skills, songwriting skills, because in a couple of years you will need them. Things will actually start to pick up with the band. So, yeah, definitely don't feel too down because things will start to happen. And, 21 is pretty good.
Indeed, they will. Well, you've travelled a lot of miles since then. There's no doubt about that. No doubt learnt a lot and had a lot of unique and different experiences. So, and that's a really good point for anybody listening that is just starting out. Doesn't matter what age you are in the music biz. You might think things aren't happening, but things happen very quickly when they do start happening, don't they? So
exactly. Yep.
You've really got to get that groundwork done when you've got the time for it. Otherwise, you never get it later on, do you? Things just pick up and shit, I should have done that.
Yep, exactly. That's very, very true.
Yep. Well, that concludes the interview. I really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful chat. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish yourself and, of course, your bandmates all the very best of luck and much success.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very nice to talk to you.
You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my discussion with Caitlin Henry, the front woman for the band Eat Your Heart Out. Thank you so much for listening.